Welcome to another episode of Between Two Dots. We are so pumped for our guest today. Asif Premji is someone that I've known for a long time, and actually someone who I met playing hockey. Well, we've kept in touch over the years, and this was a really fun conversation. Asif is a seasoned business leader with over 2 decades of experience in the automotive industry. As the GM VPO of Okotoks Honda and an active board of directors of the Motor Dealers Association, SATE, and the National Independent Automobile Dealers Association, he's deeply committed to changing the stigma of the automotive dealership experience, shaping the future of ethical leadership and relational sales in Canada's automotive landscape. Rooted in family values, integrity, mentorship, and community service, Asif's approach blends strategy with heart, building teams that lead with empathy, kindness, and purpose. His journey, marked by both personal and professional challenges and transformation, continues to inspire his belief that true success is measured not just by performance, but by the positive impact left on people and community. I think you're really gonna, appreciate this conversation. Gilbert and I certainly did. Asif drops a lot of truth bombs, and it felt like almost prophetic. So we really appreciate his time, and I really hope that you enjoy the episode. Welcome, Asif.
Asif, man, good to see you. It's been a long time coming. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So
Of course, man, and always you're looking stylish, looking good.
I try as you and I have both that stylish background. So I had to go up today, right?
I don't think so. I got your stylist because I won flukily one of your contests. But what's her name again? Harry Rosen. Let's give her a shout out. Annie.
There's Annie and there's Maurice.
Okay, Annie was a pleasure to deal with,
Yeah.
and she talks very highly of you. And obviously, following you on Instagram and whatnot, you're always dressed up and doing your thing, coming as you are. But tell us where you're taking the call from today.
So we're taking it right from home base, which is here at Okotoks Honda. It's been my home for about 23 now, go 24 years. So all the staff are watching me while they walk around, and so pressure's on both sides. So
It's cool. And you got one of those like glass offices that are kind of like right in the middle of the showroom, or how's that?
full fishbowl. So I mean, clients are going to see me, staff are going to see me. They're going to be wondering what's going on, but it's all good.
That's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully we can share this with them after as well too, and they'll get a better sense of who you are and kind of your journey. But that's maybe a good segue to start at the beginning. Tell us about where you were born, what was life like growing up, some of your earliest memories.
Awesome. Yeah. So born and raised in Calgary. I was born as a second child. I have an older sister that's 4 years older than me, and she was born in Toronto. But we were raised, here by mom and dad, and I was raised primarily by my mom and my grandpa, my grandmother, purely because dad was working most of the time, all the time actually. So, my sister and my parents moved to Calgary in '74, I believe it was, and I was conceived in '77, and mom and my grandmother raised me along with my sister, and childhood was fantastic. Obviously back in the day, those were the good old days, is what people say now. We didn't have the influence of technology and artificial intelligence and all that kind of stuff. Dad was really busy working. He was in the furniture store when he started, and then obviously the automotive industry kicked in soon after that, and I was busy with school and activities, and now you fast forward, and here I am now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
What part of town did you grow up in then?
right here in Northeast Calgary in Pembroke.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So we
Nice.
we grew up in Pembroke, but then our school, I was in school all the way in the deep south. I went to private school at Calgary Friends School, and which was off of Glenmore and Crowchild, which is by Lakeview Bakery. And then my sister went to, I think she was at all the way in the Northeast at Roland Mission, I believe. Yeah. So we're all over the place. And so we are being chauffeured by my parents and my grandparents. So
It's cool.
yeah.
What kind of student were you? Like, were
Yeah.
you straight A, or were you easily distracted, class clown, or what
No,
what, what did that look like?
truth was, Gilbert, is I was not the studious child. I always had a challenge in academics. I think is just because you now we know the reason why is just because I was severely distracted, and I could never focus or be a book boy. So for me, my learning capability is if something due tomorrow, I'll start the day before. But back in the day when my parents came to Canada and that generation and our generation, we were asked, to be as studious as we possibly could. And that studious nature was being in front of books all the time, learning as much as you could, and then obviously having the high expectations of being academically well versed and meritocratic. But that never worked for me, and I never knew why. And so, teachers always used to have conversations with my parents saying that, he's distracted, he'd be thinking about unicorns, he'd be fidgety, and they never could figure it out until one of my teachers said, you know what, maybe he's got this chance of learning where he doesn't have to be in books all the time. Let him just learn the way he learns. And we figured that out after I moved away from home, which was later in my university years. But during my Montessori, my junior, my middle, and my high school years, which were the formidable years, those are my challenging ones. But we were able to maneuver and navigate, and was able to succeed. So
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
anytime.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And I had no idea, man. Like I've known you for a few years, but I didn't know you had roots in Pembroke. So
Yeah. So
that's pretty cool.
I always talk to a lot of my friends and my colleagues and customers that, those are the days that were formidable, and those were the foundations of my upbringing. And I say they're the good old days because if you remember back in the day, our ways of spending time was to go knock on our friends' doors to see if they're home so we can go on a bike ride, or go to the backyard and play marbles, or go play basketball. So, I mean, I still remember those days on a daily, and that's what formed me the way I am.
Oh yeah, they're the best, man. Bike riding as a kid was the best, and I remember my backyard as well. So my dad paved it, so I had a basketball net, and all my buddies would come over, and like that was the spot,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we used to go to the school because we didn't have a backyard, so we had to go to Pembroke,
nice.
our mosque, and we had to go play basketball in the backyard. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So cool to hear about that, your upbringing as well too. And this is like why I love this medium, is because you learn so much about somebody that you've known for forever, and this is already coming out, man. So I'm so excited now as well too. So you go through school, you figure out that you're learning a little differently much later in life, but you're challenging kind of the way you go through.
Sure.
When you were going through, like, say, high school, for example, did you have tutors and stuff like that, or did you kind of just like figure it out? Like, how did you get through?
No, I mean, we got through with a lot of work. So I had tutors. We had some teachers who used to have one-on-ones with me after school, just to try to identify where the gaps were and where my learning disabilities were, if you want to call it that. And they try to lessen the workload to see if that would help me. They try to adjust my workflow through different classes to see if that would adjust. And it was more so just, I don't like to say the word passing by, but it was me passing by and figuring out the ways in which I could succeed in the areas in which I was good at. And so for me, for example, math was never my strong suit. And so I used to have daily mentorship and daily tutoring in math. And I was able to succeed, not in the ways that my parents or the community wanted me to succeed, but enough for me to say, okay, I was able to grasp whatever they were trying to tell me. But the tutors always knew that where my strong suits were, and my strong suits were purely in art and physical academy, and never in the other essentials of academics. Yeah.
Pretty cool. So that's very interesting though. Like that tutoring culture, especially in our culture as well too, academics is massive.
Yeah.
And when you're excited about art or some of the other like physical activities and stuff like that you're talking about, I can imagine it being pretty tough for the family and community to grasp. But obviously you said you went to university.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school, and what did you take?
So after I graduated from high school, I went to Mount Royal and I went to University of Calgary. And because we hadn't figured out the actual root cause of my learning capabilities, those 2 years post high school were challenging because it's a different world, right? And so academic pursuits, academic learning, the ideology of mentorship or tutorship wasn't as high as it was with high school or junior high. So those 2 years at MRC and University of Calgary, those were my most challenging. And that's when I had another tutor that was out of academics that identified that something's going wrong because the way in which it was going wasn't deeming well or posing well for myself. And so I remember we were at a dinner table, and my dad had said, he goes, obviously something is not working. Let's open up the gap and let's open up the horizon and see what else is out there. So let's see if there's any schools outside of Calgary that maybe we can take a look at. Not on the notion of me doing well, but maybe on the notion of maybe there's something that I can tap into where I can succeed. Because MRC and university was purely on the notion of general studies, general science, and the standard curriculum that we had to go through. And so, I didn't do well at MRC. I didn't do well at University of Calgary. And then I finally made an application to go outside of Calgary, which was in Ontario. And I attended Georgian College, which was primarily focused on automotive studies and automotive degrees. And so we made a decision. I moved there, and that's when life completely changed for me. And I was able to study on my own, live life on my own. And that's when the entire pendulum shifted from an academic standpoint.
Was it, what was that in regards to the change of the environment, like just kind of like how the classes were structured, the teaching styles, that sort of stuff?
No, actually, Gilbert, it was identically the same. So teaching style, class sizes, class environment, university lifestyle, that stayed the same. I think the biggest thing was I wasn't under the environment which posed a lot of pressure from friends, the competition from friends or other students, and also in the community, right? And so, and there's nothing wrong with that. Our community emphasizes a lot on being meritocratic and having high levels of achievement, and that's fine. And I applaud that, and I think that's a great idea. But that just didn't work for me. So when the pendulum shifted, when I was able to be outside the environment that I was grown up in, and I was able to live, and I lived my life in a way saying, okay, well, I was able to find balance between academics and personal. And so I did the standard varsity sports, focus on arts, working out, lived on res. But then I realized that I didn't have to study for 2 weeks for an exam. I can punch it off the night before and still do well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So I'm curious though, like how did you land on automotive? Is this in tandem with like your family getting into like dealership side of things as well too, or like did that come serendipitously? Like how did that happen?
Yeah, honestly, it worked coincidentally, just because dad was in the industry. So my dad started in the industry in the late 1970s, maybe perhaps the 80s. And he worked at a dealership, and mom and dad were entrepreneurial individuals at spirit, but didn't have the opportunities back home in Africa. And so my dad's wish was, and my mom's wish was, always to have a business on our own. And so when he was in the industry, and he had the opportunity to buy into our High River Honda store, that's when my dad said, hey, there's this opportunity. A lot of students are going to, automotive school. Why don't you think about it? It was never in my mind. I always wanted to be an architect, or I always wanted to have my own restaurant. I always wanted to be a cop. And so automotive industry was not something that was even in my realm. But I said, I might as well try, just because it does that dibble dabble in the artistic side, depending on how you take a look at it. And so funny enough, I went to work one day with my dad. We met a client. That client introduced us to the wife. And the wife said, well, if there's a school out in Ontario that focuses on a lot on automotive education and institute, the industry, and it can go two ways. It can go more on the technical side. It can go on operation side. And then you can also divvy off into whether it be sales or service or finance. So we made the application and I got in, and then I knew that's where the passion was the moment I made that application and the moment I got in, and then everything just exploded from there.
That's fun. It's cool when like your parents don't try to push you in a certain way because that's what they want, but kind of are willing to explore what makes you tick and then fuel that in that certain way, right? So it sounds like there's kind of alignment there as well too. You kind of got your dad's blessing. You serendipitously find this school, and then when you're there, all the pressure's off. It's kind of like, okay, you can just be and make it happen. Did you already, when you went to school, have the notion that you're going to come back and work with your dad, or did you want to go into something else? Like, how did that go?
Funny enough, when I was in Ontario, Hafiz, the goal was to simply see what the automotive industry was, and I had no capacity, or I had no mentality of how big the scope would be. And so when I was in Ontario, I fulfilled 3 years and I got my degree out, my diploma from there because it was only a diploma education. And then I got a scholarship to go out to Texas to finish off the degree. And so that's when I got my degree in business, automotive education, consulting, and marketing. So marketing was my major and advertising was my minor. And at that time is when I realized that, okay, there's two ways I can go. I can go corporate or I can go dealership. I was leaning more towards corporate because that's where I can tap into more my advertising marketing because that's where I knew I was good. That's where my artistic side could come up and that's where I could flourish. But I know that there was duality between tradition of what my dad was doing and my ambition of where I wanted to actually go. So I finished my degree off in Texas. I got a full scholarship to go out to Michigan to get my MBA, which was not so much automotive focused. It was more general business administration focused. And once I completed my MBA, I did a full circle and came back to Ontario because my sister and my brother-in-law were in Waterloo. And I was at that time, that was at the peak of RIM, of BlackBerry. And that was at the peak of where businesses in the automotive industry were seeking out students who went through the automotive program. And so for me, being artistic and RIM being very popular at that time, I wanted to go corporate out there. So automotive was not in sight. I made over 200 applications to RIM and got denied every single time. So fully out depleted. And then I circled back into that contact that we had met back in High River. And I pitched to her saying that, hey, this is where I'm at. What's my opportunities? And she made a connection to a dealership in Ontario, starting rock bottom in sales. She made the connection and that's where I went. And I started off right in sales at Ideal Honda, which is on 401 in Dixie. And so I traveled 1 hour from Kitchener to Kitchener to Mississauga every day. And I was selling cars for my first year. And I had no idea that's going to happen. Yeah.
And I like the fact that it was circled back with that original contact as well. And it's interesting because those conversations have had a profound influence on your life when you step back and look at that, right?
Oh, yeah, it has a profound influence, number one, Gilbert, but you have no idea when it's actually happening. And this is where our faith kicks in. And everything happens for a reason and you just don't know why until it actually happens. And so when we had to do a full circle back, I remember sitting down with my mom and my dad and we're like, oh my God, this is where we're at. And how do we connect and where are we at now? And how I left the industry in Ontario, Gilbert, and I came back home was at that time, dealerships did not want to have children who had conflict of interest with their parents being in a dealership world. Because there was this notion of they didn't want dealer kids. We're known as dealer kids, where the father or the parents are in the dealership world. The kids are learning the foundation of how businesses run, but they're not seeking the information at home base. They go seek experience off base. And dealerships didn't like that at that time. So long story short, after 1 year of working there, the dealer principal at the Honda store figured out through connection that I was a dealer kid. They pulled me in. They asked me the question. I was not going to lie to them saying, no, I'm not. And of course, we had to part ways because they didn't want me taking information back from one store and then relaying it to my dad to help his business grow, right? And that's how my tenureship at that store ended by virtue of saying, okay, listen, you've got your experience, but we just can't have conflict of interest because it's too hard.
They snitched you out.
Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing though. Like, is it like, and you said how it used to be. Has that changed culturally then?
Yes, yeah. In our industry now, it's more so, being open and accepted to anyone who's coming in. And if I had someone who's coming in whose father works at a dealership, I would not deny them an opportunity. I would accept them. I would not deny them. Now it's a matter of, the students who are at automotive schools now, their concepts and their bases and their fundamentals or their foundations are much different what they used to be. Back then, it was not so much corporate related, it was more dealership related. Now our industry has changed so much where the avenues of getting to the industry are very different. And the generation's much different now. Some just want 8 to 5 role and don't want to grow anything further. But to circle back to you that, it's the industry has changed so much because we don't want to segregate individuals who've grown up in an industry, in a dealership world, to be denied an opportunity at another dealership. If it works, great. If there's a mesh, great. If there's an alignment, great. If not, then that's absolutely fine as well. But the industry's changed where it's just more acceptance than it is denial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. When you came back home because of the way you had to leave that other dealership, was it like, how was that homecoming? Because you came back to Calgary, I'm assuming, right? Right from there.
Yeah.
And was it like open arms? All right, come on into the family biz and let's go. Like, how that transition happen?
Well, the transition happened when I was working at the dealership in Toronto, and my dad was my 1-800 hotline for training on spot. And I had a client that was in my office. I didn't know how to overcome it. So I called my dad. I said, Dad, I need help. This is what I'm dealing with. And so he guided me through it. And then 5 minutes later, he called me back and says, Hey, I need to talk to you. I go, well, I'm with a client. I can't talk to you right now. So I called him afterwards and he said, I remember him saying, What are you doing with your life?
Mm.
And I said, well, I'm here, I'm working, I'm trying to do what I got to do. He goes, come back home and join the family business. At that time, being young in my 20s, I had to think of losing the freedom, losing the control that I had in my life, and understanding that I'm going to be moving away from my girlfriend, leaving my sister, my brother-in-law, and having to potentially start back from scratch, or thinking ego coming in and taking over my family store. So the decision was made probably within 48 hours. By the time that they had let me go at the dealership to the time that I had the conversation with my parents to packing my stuff and flying back home. So I had flown home on a Friday. We had a family meeting between my mother, my father, and myself on a Saturday of what this was going to look like. And back then, mom and dad are like, just join the family business and we'll see what happens. There was no structure, there was no plan. It's just join the family business. And so, being in my 20s, graduating with an MBA, asking to join the family business, I woke up Monday morning, dressed up in a suit, thinking I'm stylish, going to be running my family store. Went upstairs, and my dad's having his breakfast, and he looks at me. He goes, What are you wearing? I go, We're going to work. He goes, You're not going to work like that. I go, What are you talking about? And that was a shot to my ego, right? And he goes, You're not going to work like that. Go downstairs and put on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. In my mind, I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm going to roll with it. I went downstairs, changed, got back upstairs. And we went to the car. It was a 25-minute drive. And we got to work. And I asked my dad, I go, what's the deal? Why am I in shorts and a t-shirt? He goes, I asked you to come back home to join the family business, not to take it over, but to join the family business. And so to do that, you're going to start back from scratch, not from sales, but scratch as in detailing cars.
Oh, yeah.
And at that time was a total loss of control, was a total loss of emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence, and having this shadow that I never knew I could potentially fill, which was my dad's feet. And I was always in his shadow. Psychologically, I was always in his shadow. So we got to the store and he said, okay, well, into the detail department you go. And I did the full day cleaning cars. On the way back home, I remember my dad saying, you are now officially in your 6-month stint. And that 6-month stint was every month, a different position until you figured out where in the dealership world you can succeed. So I did 1 month in detail, 1 month in service, 1 month in parts, 1 month behind the counter, 1 month in finance, 1 month in accounting, 1 month in sales. And it just progressed. It was 6 months, but it naturally went on a lot longer. And then he sat me down in my office. He goes, okay, where do you want to go? And that's when I told him, I go, you're not going to see me in accounting. It ain't happening. Accounting is not my role, but you can put me in sales because that's where it was in my blood. And my dad trained me that way. And so we put me back in sales and that's how we grew.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that he put you right back at detailing for so many reasons. One, to check your ego.
Yeah.
And kind of humble you and put you right back there as well too. Like, you're not coming in as the boss's son at the very top. Like, you're gonna earn your stripes. But secondly, what a smart thing for him to do, for you to learn every part of the business with your business acumen and the MBA and stuff like that as well too. I'm sure by exposing you to different parts of the business, you can learn where there's deficiencies or opportunities to streamline or look at certain things. and then give you the opportunity to choose. Like, you obviously did the month by month,
Yes.
but did you at one point think in the beginning, like, screw this, like I'm not coming back home to do detailing, or did you get the system from the beginning?
No, I bought in just because I relied heavily on my parents, and I knew what they've gone through, right? And so, our parents' generation knew leadership in ways we don't know leadership, and their leadership was hands to the grid, right? Working really, really hard. And so I knew that it was my dad and my mom's way of teaching me what leadership was all about. Not so much figuring out where I could succeed, but to appreciate what it takes to perhaps grow in world. That an individual in a detail department is not any less than you or any more than you. And so it was more for them saying, we want you to appreciate everyone for who they are, number one, to appreciate the people that you work with because everyone is critical in the foundation of the business. And number three was never judge anyone for what they do and appreciate them and embrace them for what they actually are. And so it was a way for my dad to teach me leadership with his perhaps foresight, knowing what he perhaps wanted, that, if there was someone in service who was very different from me, he wanted me to create relationships with that individual, not in a notion that it's the boss's son creating that relationship, but more so Asif knowing about Dwayne or Asif knowing about Shane, to create that relationship so that you can transverse that into other operations or the other positions in the business.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually really a complicated business though.
It is.
And I remember I had access to this third-party database where I was doing screening for like private businesses in Alberta, and specifically like dealerships. They're pretty big businesses and fairly numerous as well. So
yeah. Well, it's a complex business because you have probably 4 to 5 businesses within the business that all operate holistically, but also operate individually. And as the industry has changed and industry has grown, Gilbert, I think that there's a lot of complexity that has now arisen with the evolution of technology. And those businesses within the business have had to adapt and grow accordingly. But one thing that I have always maintained, and that my dad and my mom have always trained me on, and obviously through my relationships and my roles, that it's never about building the actual business, but it's actually building the people within that business. And that's what is something that I take in every day, and building my relationships with my people, because I know that's the richness of the business. That's where the worth is. That's where the net worth is. That's where the revenue and the sales are coming from, is from our people and not from the actual business itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a very astute observation, and also something that you just like take in and embody. I look at your Instagram stories, and I think this week you guys some kind of like employee appreciation setup or something like that, and you guys were all playing games, and is that something that you've done since you have been in your current role, or like when did as culture always been kind of like a big embodiment of where you're at, or is that something that you kind of brought with you?
No, it's obviously grown, Hafiz. Like my dad has, my dad has always trained me to understand the power of the people. And so back in High River days, the area in which we were in was very different than the area we're in now, and the demographics much different. So the amount of work that was involved with people back then was more so, hey, here are the metrics, here are the ways in which we can do it, and let's have some fun while we're doing it. And that usually was just, hey, let's go out for a bite to eat, have a little meeting, and then move on. Now the demographics much different, right? Our average age at the store is anywhere between, I think it's about close to 40. And so at the age of 40, our motivations are much different. We like to have fun. And so the culture within the store is to identify who does well with that type of business development and have fun doing it. So what you see on our website, or what you see on our social media, and the events that we do, or the games that we do, or the little team bonding that we do, has had to adjust based on who we have at the store. And it doesn't happen all the time because everyone's motivated in their own way on a day-to-day basis, and we do that in silos. But what you see online is just a little snippet of how we do it on an hour-to-hour basis, or if I have a conversation with a salesperson or an employee in my office.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
This episode is brought to you by Bloom Benefits Group. Bloom Benefits is disrupting employee benefits by rethinking the status quo. They provide exceptional customer service while saving you money. Bloom offers group benefits and retirement products, health and wellness accounts, executive benefits, life insurance, and disability and critical illness. Available to companies across Canada, Bloom helps clients save money without interrupting current plans. Check them out at bluebenefits.ca.
Young professionals, families, and entrepreneurs. What makes Zelos Investment Counsel different? Our independence, client focus, and access. Zelos Investment Counsel is independent from banks and brokerages, which ensures clients' best interests are served without corporate conflicts. We are fiduciary portfolio managers with a duty to clients that doesn't exist in the brokerage model. At Zelos Investment Counsel, we exist to care for our clients, and every day we strive to help our clients reach their goals. We provide our clients with access to institutional investment managers and sector specialists through our proprietary investment structure. For more information, book your no obligation meeting today at zelosglobal.com. That's www.zelosglobal.com.
Attention all car owners. Is the winter weather turning your beloved ride into a rusty relic? Fear not, because we've got the solution you've been dreaming of: Crown Rust Protection. Picture this: your car defying the elements, standing strong against rust like a knight in shining armor. Crown Rust Protection is not just a shield, it's an investment in the longevity and resale value of your vehicle. Don't let rust take the wheel. Book your Crown Rust Protection treatment today and let your car embrace its inner superhero. Call now at 403-291-1951 or book your appointment at www.krown.com. Our skilled technicians are ready to give your car the VIP treatment it deserves. Crown Rust Protection, because your car deserves to age like fine wine, not rusty vinegar.
Today's episode is brought to you by Motive, a leading venture builder with over a decade of experience helping corporates and startups build, launch, and scale successful business ventures. Whether you're looking to innovate your business model, develop a game-changing product, or craft a winning go-to-market strategy, Motive is with you every step of the way. Their proven venture building process and technologies help reduce risks and accelerate time to market. Innovation is everywhere. Let's harness it together. Visit motive.digital to learn more. That's Motive spelled M-O-T-I-V.
One thing I really admired and seen from like the dealership world, specifically the folks that I know that are, when I went to the partnership golf tournament, for example, there are a lot of dealer principals, and you see a lot of you guys out there giving back to the community.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the importance of community and how it's kind of been a part of your life, but also just like the business as well too.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's a blessing that I work with my brother-in-law, and you know him, Alamin. And so, that's been a two-pronged approach in our family business, where my brother-in-law and I have had this duality of a mindset where there's business and there's personal and there's community. And he's been significantly involved in the community in his ways, and so have I. But that gaze goes back to the torch that my father had given to us, which was, as you proceed in life, you have to give back to your community. And he has always done that from the very beginning. And that goes in ways of being involved in community events, whether it be through charitable donations, whether it be supporting individuals who have come new to Canada, giving them opportunities to start growing in a business world. And for us, we've embodied that, and we believed in it because it's one of our core values and one of our core principles is to help those in need. And through our community, that's something that we truly focus on, whether it be the Acumen Foundation, whether it be the Focus Network, whether it be the Focus for Humanitarian programs. And we just want to ensure that as much as we hold the torch of helping individuals out, we ask our people to do the same thing. So, when it comes to community, I myself am heavily involved in the community when it comes to Seva. I've been blessed to be given some opportunities where they come once in a lifetime. It makes you understand, first it humbles you, obviously, but it also makes you understand and appreciate what we have in life and the hard work that the generations prior to us have put in to get us to where we are. And it humbles you on a day-to-day basis, because that is perhaps the number one strength that we have is the faith that we have through the community and the faith of our community itself. Yeah,
It's great. Appreciate you sharing all that.
anytime.
You both have actually experience working with family. I imagine it's something that cuts both ways. What are some of the blessings and what are some of the challenges and consideration about working with family?
Well, challenge is obviously, what happens at work stays at work and it doesn't come home at a family table. But there's a very fine line, and there's a limited balance when it comes to that, Gilbert. So, our business development happens, 8 hours a day, but then it also happens on a Sunday afternoon when we're sitting with the grandkids. And I think the blessing that we have is that we're able to disconnect when we need to disconnect. There's shop talk when we need to have the shop talk as a family, not within the premises of the store. But then there's also the time where we understand the blessings that we have had along the way. And if we look at the analogy of the torch that my parents have passed on, the blessings in that is remembering always that everything that we have and everything that we do is from the blessings of Allah itself. And that comes through hard work, that comes through balance, that comes through faith and prayer, through helping those in need and supporting those we need. Hafiz and I are in the same type of industry, two different silos, but same industry. And we support each other in ways that we can't support each other. And that goes through so many different type of industries that happen within our faith. But the blessing is to always remember that we have the source of community, of champions who will support us in our growth. And remembering that if you take care of each other, of your community, one, externally, and you take care of your community internally, are they both symbiotically, or they both aligned, we can help you grow in ways that perhaps someone may not comprehend. And so if you take a look at our business, we've gone through 2 recessions. We've gone through tsunami through the Honda world. We've gone through COVID. And, God bless, we were able to take care of our business through COVID when a lot of people didn't have that opportunity. And our industry was deeply affected. But we always used to have meetings on a day-to-day basis and say, you know what, we're going to just hunker down to what we got. Thank God for what we get, and we'll be able to manage and we'll be able to maneuver. And we were able to do so. And until today, we still thank God, and we still thank our core people for being there with us, because they are the blessings that help us where we are and help us do what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like it's really cool to see that those like ethics are embodied within the culture of your business as well too, from the top down, and you get to permeate that within your staff, and it just kind of guides your principles and it brings you right back, right?
Yeah, it is one of the core principles that we tell our people and those who come into the store, Hafiz, that what is our secret sauce, if you say, and we tell them we don't really have a secret sauce. But if you want to identify a secret sauce, it's probably the people that you look at. And so, when we have our staff and we meet with them, if their families are going through hardship, if their families are going through turbulences or things through life, that's our family. And so we take it on ourselves as well. And we try our best on a day-to-day basis, Hafiz and Gilbert, to ensure that family is one of the core values of our store. That family is the foundation that helps us be who we are and do what we do. For us, it's not numbers. For us, it's the heartbeat. And we focus more truly on the heartbeat than we do focus on the actual person.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, in telling your story, we're at risk as it relates to kind of catching the highlight reel, and it seems so seamless, and the story just progresses. But maybe you can tell us about a challenge or something that was difficult that, eventually resulted in something that was positive or a learning that you had to experience and go through.
Yeah, I think, being vulnerable, I've had to go through some really personal hardships in my life. And those personal hardships have filtered into our family business. And they're ones that I can say now openly that, led me to my rock bottom. And in those situations, we've had our rock bottoms personally, and we've had our rock bottoms from a business standpoint. And I think the notion of accepting life, it not being perfect, and that everyone has hardships, and that everyone has some healing to go through individually or professionally. And that healing that and through those challenges, Gilbert, has helped us lead. And we also have understood that through that healing, whether it be personal or through business, has never been an outsource of finding peace from outside, that the peace has found inside. So if we take a look at it from myself, my rock bottom, I found peace internally, and I didn't have to wait for the peace to come from outside. Same thing happened with our business. When we were going through our turbulence, we found that peace was within the core of our individuals, ensuring that they were taking care of the store, we take care of them, and it was permeating and existence through our customers. And so, if I was to say one sentence that I can perhaps translate from a personal standpoint or a business standpoint through the challenges and the blessings or the learnings from those, is that if you're able to love with a set of healthy boundaries, then you could perhaps lead with a level of unfiltered or no boundary empathy. And so, everyone lives through life, and everyone has to have healthy boundaries in order for them to grow and do what they got to do. But if you're able to do that, love with those boundaries, but then lead with empathy, then you will have probably 10 times fold more love and more empathy that'll come in from the people that are around you. And that's what I can say for myself. My dad will he'll probably sit with you for a cup of coffee and sit with you all day with his challenges. But most often than not, it's based on love, it's based on faith, it's based on discipline, and coming and showing up through all that, whether it be personally or professionally, through consistency, through authenticity, through purpose.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's definitely pretty powerful. And I've known you for years as well too. Like, you talk about some of the struggles that you went through. I think you were pretty public-ish with some of the stuff that you were posting,
Yeah.
and letting the world know that you were kind of going through it, right? But you were finding your path, and you're going through it as well too. But can you talk about some of the things that you did to kind of help you find your way, either progressing through or to balance out the trials and tribulations of life?
I think the first thing was Hafiz was just accepting it.
Yeah.
And accepting it with pride, or accepting it with pure acceptance that there's nothing wrong with it. And I tell all my staff now too that, listen, everyone that you see is going through something. That's just life. Everyone's going through something. And that doesn't say anything negative about that person. But the moment you accept it and you understand that you're not alone in this journey, there's always souls that will come into your life that are there to help you in whatever capacity that you need at that moment in time. And that was for me, is to understand that, life happened. There's some challenges that hit me, that I was accepting of it, and that there was no way that I was able to grow or to move forward in my life if I was going to do it alone. I had to rely on the foundations and the souls that were in my life at that particular moment. And it's through that reliance, knowing through faith and discipline that those souls that came to me for a certain reason, that I was able to grow. And I just keep on saying it to everyone right now, that if you are going through something or life is happening, that number one, it's okay. The storm will never last forever. And that things will always get better if you just believe in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, that you are a good person, that you have blessings in life, and that you can be gratitude and do it with grace, then surely that storm will only last as long as that you allow it to last.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that resonates. It just, it can be easy to be consumed by what's going on, and accepting is part of that process in order to enable you to move forward, right? So that's really important.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's super powerful, Asif. Like, it is a good reminder as well too, right? Like as you said, everyone's going through something, and when you say you rely on the souls in your life, it's pretty interesting as you go through life as well too, that the people that come in randomly and opportunities that kind of seemingly seems super sporadic or randomly, and then you look back and like, wow, there's a pivotal moment. Um, I know for me a few years ago when I was in the depths of it all, Farouk Subnani, he's the guy that we both know,
Yes.
and he was someone that I reached out to when I got asked to be on the Might and Ghusl committee, which for our community is like the death and grieving side of it for the community.
Yes.
And I remember that opportunity to join that crew for a couple of years was like insanely life changing in terms of what you see and what you're exposed to, and it's just wow. You don't even know until you're actually in it, right?
Absolutely.
I know you've recently been part of that community now as well too. Like, what's that like been for you?
Well, it's funny. Opportunities come to you when you least expect it, and something in the universe knows that you need it.
Mm.
And I have been blessed to serve in this role many, many, many years ago, but was not able to fulfill it because of circumstances of life. Fast forward now, it was never in my horizon. I never sought it. I never asked for it. And it was not in the capacity of my mindset, knowing that I want to serve in this role. And by virtue, I got the phone call, and it's been since March that I've been serving in this role, Hafiz and Gilbert, and it has been life-changing, and it's only been 8 months of life that has transpired, right? But what I say to those who ask me what the role is about, which you obviously have alluded to, I think the greater thought process, the greater idea of it all is the notion that we're a small speck in the grand scheme of life.
Mhm.
And as small as that speck is, the impact of what we can do in that life is massive. And as much as we do on a day-to-day basis through our businesses, through our work, there is also the notion of this role that makes you understand how quickly it can be gone. And in that life, in that opportunity where you can make a measurable impact to those who are around you, whether they be souls who've come in or your family members or your employees, is to make that impact where you can do it with kindness and with love. And this role is just changing life as we go, because it's hard to explain, and you probably know there's no words to explain the level of humility that comes along with it, or the level of life appreciation that comes along with it, or to know that there's a way that you can disassociate with life in itself and to fulfill the role in which you've been granted, and that's to take care of the family, to take care of the community, to fulfill a responsibility with ethics or with discipline or with honor or with rigor. And if you take a look at all those words that I just used, there are all little branches or little leaves that exist in this grand tree of life. And this role itself just makes you understand of how those little small snippets make such a big role or make such a big impact in our life.
Mm. Yeah, I'm so glad you took that role. It is incredible.
It's incredible.
And it's something that you will have with you forever. And it's one of those things that I think you explained it really well, but it's also something that people kind of grasp unless you've actually done something like that as well too. So I always urge people, if you have an opportunity to give back to the community, do it.
Do it.
Whatever that looks like. And Gilbert's big on that as well too. And I think that's what some of the chats that we've always had throughout the years is kind of like the like life itself, and like how short it all is, but the impact, like you said, that you can make.
Yeah.
But also trusting in the universe will provide if you are open to it as well too. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I tell a lot of people, even my staff members, I go, if you have one small opportunity, whether it be kind or to pay it forward or to smile at someone. It may seem really small in a grand scheme of your day, just 24 hours a day. Take 8 hours of sleeping, whatever time that you have, the moment you wake up to the time that you go to sleep. Any small act of service, whether that be kindness, gratitude, paying someone's coffee, holding the door open, whatever it may be, all those small acts, they will make such an impact when you go to sleep at night. And it's the same thing, whether it be in the mode of serving the community, whether it be in business, whether it be in relationships like this. I always believe that if you can live with kindness, with grace, with love, with empathy and understanding, those small steps can make such a big difference in your life or in the lives that you touch.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I didn't know what to expect from this conversation. Obviously, you guys had known each other before, and we're meeting for the first time. But I've been really impressed with the story and also the way that you've been able to deliver views and in almost like a prophetic manner. And you have been authentic and vulnerable as well. So wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Want to turn the floor over to you just to give, yourself a chance to talk to the audience. If there's a call to action or anything that you want to bring attention to, in terms of the business or personally, how people can connect and find out more information, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think, I could talk about Hondas and I could talk about cars all day long. But for me, it's never about the business, but it's more so the arteries that live within it. And for me and in my relationships, Hafiz will know, my staff will know that for me, it's never been a numbers game for me. It's always been the people, it's been the heartbeat for me. And I care a lot in my life. I care a lot about what people think. I care a lot about how people feel. And perhaps that's just the empath in me, or perhaps that's just the emotional side in me. But if there was anything that I can say to the audience right now from a business standpoint, sure, you can come out to Okotoks Honda and drive a Honda and see what that's like. But I would say that life is completely unpredictable, and that you will go through life in so many ways, through ups and downs. And if you're listening to this, know that you're worth it. Know that you have everything inside of you to do what you want to do, that you're never smaller than anyone else, that you have purpose and that you have goals and that you have drive, and that you have love around you that perhaps you may not see. And if you can just rely on that love, and you can rely on knowing that how much you're worth it and that you have everything inside of you to do whatever you want to do, then the world can be yours. Never let anyone dim your light. Never let anyone say that you're not worth it or you can't do it, because it really doesn't matter what they think. What matters is what you think. And if you have it inside of you, then everything is achievable. And just know that you're okay and you're exactly where you need to be. So that's basically all I can say. And I only say that because I tell myself that, and I tell a lot of people that when I see them, just because I know life is really shitty right now. And a lot of people may not talk about it, but it's okay to know that it's not okay, but it will be okay. And
yeah.
Okay.
I love that. Thank you.
Anytime. My pleasure.
Yeah, Asif, thank you so much, man. Like, it's crazy because Asif and I played on a hockey team that I put together in like 2010 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was the Sabres at that time. You and Al joined, and I think we played together for like a season or two or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we kind of kept in touch. We were on social media or whatever. But in around the time that I was getting married, you had a contest you had with Harry Rosen, and I won, and I got to come out there actually for the first time. I've known you for years. First time coming out to Okotoks Honda, saw how you work, and you gifted me with this gift certificate that I ended up buying my wedding bow tie with. And it was awesome, man. So like that kind of connected us back as well too. And here we are again today as well too, man. So many different threads, so many just like serendipitous cool things, man. But like to leave it like that was incredible. I felt like you were just speaking right to my soul, man. So thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for your words of wisdom.
Thank you.
And really appreciate getting to know you more as a person. And like I said, we were teammates for so long, but I've learned more about you in the last hour than I have in the last 20 years. So
Appreciate
that was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate the floor and I appreciate the opportunity of speaking. I know we may have digressed more on a philosophical route than perhaps on a business route. So it may be a different podcast than maybe you might be used to. But I appreciate the opportunity nonetheless, and it was an honor.
It was perfect. Thanks, man. Yeah, we appreciate it. Much love. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Yes. Gilbert, it's a pleasure meeting you over Zoom, but I look forward to seeing you actually in person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Awesome. Thanks, gentlemen.
Take care, Asif.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
See you, brother.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode of Between Two Dots by Intention Media. This podcast is co-hosted by myself, Gilbert Bong, and Hafiz Mita. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate and review wherever you listen.